Okay, so this is a really funny story. When I was little, I had this like reproduction book, and it was I loved it. There were like diagrams of like the little baby inside the mom and stuff, and it was so cool. I thought it was awesome, and like the book described how a baby is made by a mommy and a daddy hugging. And one day I asked them, I was like, Mom, I was like 4 at the time, by the way, and like so little 4-year-old me just said, Mom, is this really how babies are made? Like, all you have to do is hug? And she's like, no, honey, the daddy's penis goes inside the mommy's vagina. And I remember just going, ew!
I think young people need to be educated on how to protect their body and what to expect, and for them to be ready to take on the responsibility of sexual activity. High school students should be involved in a sex ed class. However, that's really not the case nowadays because it's a taboo subject. They don't want to talk about it.
I remember the first time I saw something of like what we have, like penis and vagina, and it's like 6th grade. I think in 6th grade they showed us pictures of it like on an animated film. And then 7th grade you took health science, and in health science there was like a sex ed. It was okay. I mean, it wasn't, we did it like, it was together, like girls and guys, they watched the videos together. And Miley, okay, listen, this is gonna, thank you very much. Hey, this is gonna take a lot longer if you keep coming out, okay? So, do you need help putting on a movie, or do you got it? Can you do it? Yeah, Miley was already born when I was 19. Actually, when I was 19, I was already a single dad. It's really rough being a single parent, especially at that age when you just get out of high school and you're trying to go to college and you have to work 40, 50 hours a week to pay your bills and run her to daycare and then pick her up and go to school and drop her off at a babysitter. Just too much.
I think I realized I was first attracted to the same sex probably my freshman year of high school, PE, and I was like, damn. My first sexual experience, I lost my virginity when I was 15 years old, I think, and it was with my first boyfriend at the time. So it was really cool. It was nice. It was fun. The best way to describe it is that it feels normal. Like for straight people, that feels normal to them. But if I was with a girl, I think it'd be weird. For me, being with a guy, that's normal. That's natural for me.
I honestly really didn't get how sex worked until I lost my virginity when I was 18. I remember asking one of my friends how it worked, and she was a virgin too, and she's like, I don't really know. You get the concept of the penis going inside the vagina, but you don't get the concept.
So family planning would be defined as having a plan for the number of children that 2 people in a relationship are intending to have. And usually that's in the context of a committed relationship or marriage. I think the issue with being casual about sex has been one that's been in our culture for the last 50 years or so. People are willing to talk about it now, and there is data that there's a significant number of hookups or uncommitted sexual intimacy. One study looked at hookups among college students, and 60 to 80% of them reported having at least one casual sexual encounter.
Good luck. Be thankful. For a meal. Our health. I always kind of makes me feel good about myself, because everyone is always telling me, oh, I can't believe you do this, this, and this, and how are you still getting good grades, and blah, 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 and I mean, I don't know. I give all the credit to God, but I guess I do some of it. I was having a big party at my house, the average average 18-year-old, just having a party, having fun. And she came up to my house all teary, and she told me that, she goes, Jared, I gotta talk to you. Took me to my room, she told me that she was pregnant, and I didn't really believe her at first. A couple weeks later, she took me to the Planned Parenthood with her and got a blood test, and I actually saw the paper and the results, and that's when it really sunk in. I was like, wow, I'm gonna be a dad. I barely knew her mom. She got pregnant after I knew her for like 2-3 weeks. When she was 9 months, she came up to me and she just said that she wasn't ready to be a mom anymore. She's like, I'm 19, I have my whole life, I'm just not ready. I remember saying to her, I was like, you think I'm ready for this? I'm 19, just like you are. Your actions can affect like future people. Like my child has to ask me sometimes, like, does my mom love me? Why did she leave me? Stuff like that, just because I had unprotected sex. We were young and she wasn't ready. And now I have a little girl that's 5 that asks me if her mother loves her, just because I wanted to have a good time.
To the world.
I actually recently got into a pretty serious relationship, and I officially came out to my mother and told her basically like, hey, I'm seeing someone and I like guys. And my mom just said, you know, well, it took you 20 years, you know. I had a really good experience. My parents are both really supportive. Not only that, but my family is really supportive. So I realize I'm blessed in that sense. Finding yourself and knowing who you are it's a really difficult process, especially for adolescents. I went through a period of time where I was really struggling with it, having a lot of anxiety about it, and you know, coming out was not an option because I was like, oh, what is my dad gonna say? What is my mom gonna say? I don't even know. I had a sexual partner and who lied about their HIV status. Truth came out, and you know, I went crazy. I was like, oh my God, I'm HIV positive. What am I gonna do? At the end of the day, I got tested. Thankfully, I came out negative, but it really opened up my mind as to how I view HIV and HIV positive people and HIV positive, HIV negative relationships.
Of our clients here, I think about over 80% of people that receive services here do identify as gay, male, and of people that test positive here, I believe it's over 90% are gay male. We see really only 2 modes of transmission: unprotected penetration, sexual contact, and sharing needles for drug use. I've heard someone liken the condom to the seatbelt in a car. The seatbelt is not the only safety function in a car, but it is probably the one that's going to most contribute to saving your life. You also have other things. You have airbags, you have brakes, you have turn signals, you have all sorts of things you have to learn to drive before you get in a car. So all those things, they have parallels perhaps somehow with having sex. So if a condom is your seatbelt, then you can also do things like limit the activities that you have with a partner, limit your number of partners, make sure you know what's risky going into sex. It's said that penetration with a condom is 10,000 times safer than completely unprotected penetration.
So there's issues with condoms that have to do with personal preference, and that is really an individual issue, but condoms used correctly will be very effective. Many people use them incorrectly, and of course there is always the possibility that a condom would break, so you shouldn't think that it's 100% effective. Other ways to prevent sexually transmitted diseases are to limit your overall number of sexual partners, as well as to avoid being sexually intimate with people when you're under the influence of drugs or alcohol. We know that that's a more common time for sexually transmitted diseases to occur. But But really, your best line of defense is communication with your partners. If you're in a committed relationship and you decide to be intimate, it's a good idea to be tested on the front end. And then you can share that information with your partner and you can truly feel like you're having safe contact.
Sex has always been like kind of bad. It's just had like such a negative connotation. You know, if you're a girl and you sleep with someone you're not in love with or you don't want to get married to, you're automatically a whore. And for guys, it's completely different. It's such a skewed standard. But when I was in middle school, since really it was mostly abstinence education, it really wasn't until I got to college and kind of dealt with my own insecurities that I really started to realize, like, it's okay to have sex and not be committed. Like, it's okay to enjoy yourself as long as you're safe. My first time was god-awful. Oh my gosh. That was the worst, but it was also, like, my first time, so I had no idea what was going on, and I was really like, this is the worst. I actually did have, like, unsafe sex once, and I don't really know why. We weren't really like planning on having sex and it just kind of happened. I went out and got Plan B immediately the next day. I was losing my crap until I got my period, and that's when I was like, all right, I need birth control. And like I texted him and I was like, we're not doing that again unless you buy condoms. There's a specific way girls are supposed to act and talk, and we're not supposed to be the ones who initiate or we're not supposed to be in control of the relationship. And I think that affects our sex lives because a lot of us can't say no or dictate what we want.
I had unsafe sex again with someone different, and we had like a pregnancy scare and stuff, and that was scary. Like now I'm like really serious about it. I don't know how I wasn't serious about it after I already had a child.
You know, I know people who are like, I won't even touch someone who's HIV positive. And to me, that's disturbing because anyone who is HIV positive is just a person like you and I. But after being in my situation, I learned that it's okay and it happens and you just got to protect yourself. And you know, my goal right now is just to fight that division.
I believe that that people need information on which they can base choices. They need a comprehensive view of what sexuality is, what they're facing in the real world, because you know, educators and parents often don't know what their kids are actually facing, and so giving them enough information to make reasoned choices is a really good thing.
Some of the consequences of sexual intimacy can actually be carried with you lifelong. If you parent a child, you'll have that child for the rest of your life. And then some of the infections you also can carry with you for the rest of your life, like herpes, HPV, and HIV. The decision to become sexually active with somebody is one that needs to be made carefully.
I don't think it's sex that's changed me. I think it's that, honestly, it's all the changes that I've kind of made that led me to be able to just like have sex and enjoy it. And you know, I think it's just kind of a growing up thing, and I'm still kind of in that awkward phase of, you know, little girl and woman, because at 20 years old no one's gonna call me a woman. Like, that's crazy. And I think just every day, like a little bit, I get a little bit more confident and mature, and you know, I'm better at dealing with my emotions, and that just makes it all the more easier.
I was a wreck, like serious wreck. Like, I was a wreck, and she changed my life. She's like seriously a miracle for me.
I would just say, hey, you know, wear a condom, You know, be safe, be proactive about your sex life, get tested regularly. If you want to, you want, do it. Go out with whoever you want. Just, you know, be ready for the consequences and be ready for the responsibility that comes with sexual activity.